Welcome to Duality Check, the podcast where two brothers embark on a journey through the realms of scientific inquiry, the mysteries of the past, and the uncharted frontiers of spirituality. Join us as we explore the wonders of our world and beyond, all while embracing the roles of curious bystanders rather than experts. Get ready to question, ponder, and delve into the dualities that shape our understanding of reality on Duality Check. I'm Drew.
And I'm Dean, and welcome to episode 73. I think today we're going to do, probably a lot more on that pyramid scan project.
Yeah, and surrounding stuff that kind of came up.
Yeah.
We've watched over the last week.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff I wanted to chat with you about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't watch much of Jesse Michaels. Did he have a new episode? I actually didn't see if he had a new episode. Was that the one you were...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I did... No, never mind. I thought
you said you started it. Here, let me see.
I can't remember what it was now. It was like
It's right here.
There you go.
Right here.
Okay.
This one with James Fowler, the guy who runs Skywatchers.
Skywatchers was the thing that
Jake Barber
had mentioned being a part of, right?
Yeah.
Helping in some way, right?
So I'm a little over halfway through on this. And what's cool... Here, I'll just bring this up. I thought I had it. There it is. I went to their website, or they brought this up.
Yeah.
That they released this like classification guide.
Oh, for like the different types and
yeah. So class 1 is the Tetra UFOs.
Tetrahedron shaped UAP, which tumbles on multiple axes while on a stable flight path, often appears in groups of 3 to 20 plus.
Visual profile: black with intermittent white vapor bursts. Exhibits strong strobing effect on electro-optical sensors several times per second. Size
1.5 to 2 meters.
Yeah, so they're not huge.
Appears to tumble at high speed across multiple axes while maintaining a stable overall flight path. Typically descends from high altitude to below 2,000 feet. AGL.
At ground level.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
And then they got details with characteristics and interactions, and eventually they're going to be including sensor data.
So this is all of the ways that they're recording and tracking and using. That's how they're getting the technology, or that's the technology they're using.
So they're using multiple sensors. So they're using electro-optical. So basically visible spectrum, but like expanded visible spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're using 2 different infrared sensors, different infrared wavelengths, radio frequency, and radar.
Radar tracking, yeah. Huh. And it'll show you, is this on any one of the cases? So that's the Tetra.
Yeah, so that's the Tetra. Then class 2 is the Tic Tac. Cylindrical UAP that hovers, elongates during stable flight, and has an area effect on electronics and aircraft. Seen in groups of 1 to 3. Observed with the Manta ray in proximity.
Oh, I think that's like the underwater thing that they've seen dock with it or something come out of the ocean that caused like white caps. Remember David Fravor was talking about that. Like he said that when he first initially came up to it as it was like hovering above the water level, like first he was doing that spiral downwards into it. Right. And he says as it like noticed as he was coming in, getting closer, he noticed that it was like right on top of something just under the surface of the water that was creating like a wave front, like a beach, because it was so close that it was forcing the water up like a beach would, you know, or any other object in the ocean. Yeah, that's interesting. That the manta ray is what they're calling. I mean, it makes sense, but so it says the visual profile is bright white cylindrical craft that shifts shape during flight. Observed to elongate horizontally and shift color from white to purple to pink during transitions, easily observable on IR.
Size
and IR is what they captured it on, right?
Yeah, that's
that video,
the FLIR video, that's
video.
forward-looking infrared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they... And apparently, because I haven't really learned this guy's name yet.
Yeah, no.
James Fowler. When they were talking about the Tic Tacs on here, because they kind of at some point they start going through the different classes and talking about them, and he gives like different stories of different encounters they have had
with those different shapes. Basically.
So he says that these Tic Tacs, they really only necessarily appear this Tic Tac shape in the infrared, and that optically they seem to have these like spikes coming off of them.
Like almost like the energy is coming off of it, because the shape of it doesn't change, but the signature is changing. Is that kind of the? Well,
they say like in the visible spectrum.
Oh, so actually you're seeing the spikes with the visible eye.
Yeah, but with the infrared, that's when it looks more like a clean
like a clean shape. Okay. Oh yeah, that's an interesting way to like. That's why. Like even in like Jeremy Corbell's like recent stuff, he talks about how like he keeps reminding people that what you're seeing, these videos are like infrared. They're different colored infrareds, and they're picking up different colors, and they're picking up literally just the energy source. They're not necessarily picking up anything around it. Right. Because it's in some sort of like,
you're looking at a heat signature when you look at infrared.
Yeah. So when you're talking about like, there's other ways to see it using different technology than like, or the naked eye. Like if you see that, you're not going to see this necessarily with the naked eye.
Right.
Even though David Fravor does say he saw the Tic Tac with his naked eye, right? Or did he see it on IR too and then just like...
That's a good question.
Because I remember him saying, I feel like he said he could see it with his eyes.
I thought he said because he was circling around it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there could be something to the fact
that he wasn't the one that filmed the video. That was the other...
but he described it as this.
Right.
So it's just, I mean, that could be as simple as, you know, maybe there is some way of, like, it, whatever it is, the spectrum of light that it's on is something that we can't see with the naked eye in a sense.
Or it has weird effects in the visual spectrum,
Right. So you're not necessarily going to pick up its natural shape anyways, or function, or like...
It could be that the infrared shape is more true to the shape of the craft when it's not flying. And what we see in the visible spectrum is artifacts of its propulsion system.
Ooh, like spikes, almost like little scar marks like you would see in like a Marvel movie from like time travel, or like remember like the slipping effect that they showed, like the times or the universal slipping where they just go through like a slit of the universe and they end up where they need to go. Do you know what I mean? And then
Marvel?
It would mean because they do that in Marvel.
What?
It was like a Thor movie or something.
Oh, okay.
Where they like, when they're traveling, it like looks as if they're just opening up a door within the universe and they're just walking through it, point A to point B, like a wormhole. Basically.
Yeah.
And maybe those are scar marks, and maybe not necessarily the craft. What if it's like a effect of it? Like, and I mean more like maybe like the jellyfish one, or like the irregular ones. Maybe those signatures are not necessarily a craft, but are like signatures from a craft being there doing something at one point and it having no effect. Especially if it's like, I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting.
So the flight behavior on the Tic Tac, it says capable of vertical hovering with oscillation, rapid descent from high altitudes as assessed at as 60,000 plus feet and Mach 1.5 plus, an abrupt arrest of motion midair, frequently tumbles while descending and then stabilizes before resuming flight, uses terrain masking, and performs independent, unsynchronized maneuvers in proximity to other craft.
Unsynchronized, that's interesting because, yeah, again, in Fravor, he described it as matching his, like, synchronizing with his craft and, like, moved upwards towards him in the same pattern that he was.
Yeah.
Until it decided to stop, and then it went to his, like, quote-unquote cap point or whatever they called it. Like, where they were supposed to be going.
Right. Class 3.
The Blob. Orb-shaped UAP that exhibits pulsing internal light, horizontal oscillation, and erratic point-to-point movement. Capable of extreme speed and rapid flare-driven expansion, observed exclusively as singletons.
So they fly alone?
As solo, yeah. So no, it's usually like a solo event instead of having like multiple of them.
Yeah, red cloud-like orb with pulsing light-bodied core. The central element flares in size and brightness at times, expanding into large red amorphous form. No visible propulsion observed, easily detected on IR with strong heat signature. Size 3 to 5 meters.
Exhibits rapid, near instantaneous jumps between positions with no observable transitions or acceleration. Movement is generally erratic, but often includes lateral oscillation. During motion or flare events, the form expands significantly, appearing to pulse or distort in size.
Interesting.
It's like a little plasma ball.
Yeah. Class 4, the Beam. IR only, orb-shaped UAP that vibrates while in stable flight path, hovers in place for hours at a time, seen in pairs. Not visible in an EO spectrum, that's electro-optical, only observable on IR. Presents as stable orb-shaped UAP with strong heat signature and no off-gassing or visible propulsion. Size unknown.
Interesting.
Flight behavior exhibits prolonged hovering, often remaining motionless for over an hour. Movement, when observed, is slow and deliberate. Vibrates laterally while maintaining a generally stable flight path.
Class 5, the Manta Ray. Manta Ray-shaped UAP that tumbles on multiple axes. Rarely seen, observed in proximity to Tic Tacs, the black Manta Ray-shaped craft emits colored vapor or light from multiple points, including pink, green, teal, and translucent/white hues. Plumage appears to radiate from the top surface. It's about 2 to 3 meters in size.
Oh, weird. They're smaller than the Tic Tacs?
Yeah, they're just like some little, like, maybe like, you know, have you seen, you know, I think it was in the Phantom Menace, the Star Wars Phantom Menace, and they went underwater into that, into where the Jar Jar Binks, you know, civilization was. And they use that craft. It looks like that.
Oh, yeah. Observe tumbling and rotating on multiple axes, capable of hovering in place and rapidly shifting altitude. Movements include both wind-assisted and wind-opposed trajectories at varying speeds.
Interesting.
Class 6, Bright Star. Reflective tetrahedron-shaped UAP that oscillates horizontally, flashing light. Team has experienced sensor disruption, apparently caused by directed energy.
Sensor disruption caused by directed energy. So it's like reflecting all the energy around it and like
or it's like shooting
Pointing it,
energy
pointing
beams
it.
that like knocks down their equipment.
Interesting. Reflective tetrahedron-shaped craft that flashes in teal, green, blue, red, and white light spectrums, appears to shimmer across its surface in electro-optical view. Endpoints of the craft are less opaque, possibly due to the active plumage or light-based extension effects. Ooh. This is 1.5 to 3 meters.
Exhibits rapid horizontal oscillation fast enough to produce radar artifacts resembling a spinning propeller.
Wow.
Movement is erratic and high frequency, but contained within a lateral plane.
It's a multi-dimensional tesseract.
Class 7.
Ooh, the jellyfish. Jellyfish-shaped UAP with seeking head motion and trailing tentacles. Exhibits a localized area effect on electronics, independent of specific targeting or interaction with sensors. Its visual profile: a white jellyfish-shaped craft with a bulbous head and trailing tentacle-like appendages. The head comprises roughly 1/5 of the overall length, and while the tail extends downward and appears to move independently of wind conditions, observable on both electro-optical and IR. 2 meters in size at the head and 3 to 5 meters at the tentacles.
Flight behavior is that it exhibits winding snake-like movement along a deliberate flight path. The craft often moves from point to point in a meandering serpentine motion. This is like the one that was caught on video.
Yeah, in the Middle East, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Over an active base.
Yeah. Class 8 Hornet.
Whoa.
Dual body UAP with hanging tendrils and asynchronous rotation. A multi-part craft with purple, red, blue, and black coloration. Features prominent tail that folds into a ball or extends in a stinger-like formation. The upper segment contains hanging tendrils within which a secondary body appears to rest. Reflective flashes observed during flight. Size is 2 to 4 meters.
Its flight behavior exhibits irregular motion and asynchronous rotation between upper and lower components. Rolls on both pitch and yaw axes while maneuvering. Interesting. That's weird.
Yeah. Class 9 is the egg. Off-white, egg-shaped UAP, provisional class designation, no corroborated motion, structure, or spectral data. Visual profile: off-white, metallic, egg-shaped craft. Visual data is limited to a single low-quality recording. No observable propulsion, vapor trails, or aerodynamic control surfaces. Electro-optical visible. IR and other multispectral sensor coverage was unavailable during observation.
Station never tried.
Yeah.
Undocumented. Size unknown. Flight behavior is undocumented. No verified pattern of motion has been established due to insufficient data. No radar tracking available during sightings to confirm flight behavior.
You know what else they're missing? Both the glaring omission out of these classifications.
A saucer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is all based off of their data, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it seems like, in my opinion, the saucer-shaped UFO hasn't been well established necessarily. Like, there are certain pictures from the past that are just, I don't know.
well, there's the Lonnie Zamora case. There's
got to be
Roswell.
some. Yeah.
There's
I mean, there's got to be some.
There's a lot of
There's like such an amorphous shape, though. Like, you gotta admit that our first airplane and our modern jets look way different. So maybe there is some sort of pattern here, or some sort of like evolving.
Well, it could also be the closest thing is the Hornet. Yeah,
that
it could also be
apart, maybe.
The difference between manta ray similar. Yeah, it could be the difference between like in flight versus stable, like landed.
Yeah.
Like maybe the effects of its flight characteristics causes distortions in the perceived shape while in flight.
Yeah, so maybe these are just more like trying to dig out more of what they actually are or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but
or it's just what they've seen. I don't know.
This is what their
Skywatcher Discovery Framework.
But what was cool in this interview too, and I haven't finished it, but at one point he was talking, and Jesse was asking him about which of the classifications are associated with like the red or the blue, the good or the bad ones, quote unquote, right? And James, I keep having to look. He says that he has that, like they have pretty clear ideas on that, but they're not ready to release that yet. He's in this really weird, like interesting in between state where he's almost like trying to get information out of the government by withholding and divulging certain information.
Yeah.
So like he's kind of like playing this game with the government where he'll give his data that he wants to release to them first, giving them the opportunity to tell him something is classified and he can't release it.
Yeah.
As a way to know whether or not, like, to kind of give him a read on the likelihood that it's, reverse engineered technology.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if there's a certain bit that he wants to divulge, and if they, swear him to secrecy on that point.
Yeah.
Then that tells you something, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it tells you that they're not quite ready to tell you.
Or that it maybe has to do with like our own reverse engineered tech. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems likely that both things are true. That there's alien reproduction vehicles, and there's back engineered reproduction vehicles where we just try to like use the technology but mimic that and make it adaptable for us.
Yeah, I wonder how well that works too, because
with like flight controls and stuff,
that's what I'm wondering, right? Because like especially the flight controls, because like the stories are that the interface with the UFOs, like the actual flight controls, are telepathic, right?
Right.
So I wonder if we're doing a reproduction vehicle, like we're gonna have to come up with like control surfaces and control schema, and I bet that radically increases the clumsiness of the flight experience rather than just being able to have the thing read your intention, right?
Wasn't it Bob Lazar that said that he saw like us doing flights, or was it somebody else?
I don't think.
Because I feel like he would always
Lazar go out with John Lear and watch the
test flights,
top secret test flights.
Yeah, and I feel I can't remember if it was him or somebody else that described them as being clunky and like not always working, and like there would be a lot of accidents, and I could be also remembering an episode of the X-Files, so don't hold me to that.
For sure. Part 3 of Area 52's interview with the alien came out this week too. Have you been following that series?
I haven't actually watched it. On the Lacerda Files?
Not the Lacerda Files. This is another one similar to that where... so I actually bought the book that he's basing this on because we... Like, not to copy what he's doing, but, like, it would just be such good thing for the show for us to, like, go over this together.
Okay.
But the story of it... Like, the background of it is that this is apparently, like, the sole survivor of the Roswell crash. And that there was this nurse, this, like, you know, who happened to be the only one that the entity would communicate with. And so... The book sort of documents her notes and her recollections from when she's older and she finally just
wants to talk about it.
Yeah. And so she sort of divulges all the details of her interview with this alien.
In her head?
Yeah, it's all telepathic communication.
And she remembers it or is telling it as a memory?
She took notes of it all and everything, but yeah, she remembers it. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna have to do a whole series on it, but like,
for sure,
there's really interesting the third part of the series on it, and I'll link it to you guys. The Area 52 video is really good. But in part 3 of the video, the segment they're going on, the alien, I forgot the name, Errol was her name. She is sort of just giving a history of Earth and basically the prognosis is that our planet is a prison planet, and that Errol, the creature who crashed in Roswell, is part of an order, of an empire that is like expanding across multiple galaxies, and says they're trillions of years old and that the universe is trillions of years old, not 14 billion.
Yeah.
And that when they got into this area, they've only been in our neck of the woods of the Milky Way for maybe 20,000 years or so.
Yeah.
And that when they came here, Earth was like a prison planet by the old empire who ruled this area. And she gives this terminology for herself and for beings that she calls, she says, I will coin this word Isby because it's the like closest thing I can give to describe what we are. Like, that we are not this body. Like, the body, they give description of like the body of the entity, and it's almost like it's in some sort of non-biological entity. Like, it's almost like an automaton, just like
an AI.
No, but like driven by like a consciousness, and that basically she calls herself, and us too, Isbies, that we are the spiritual entity, and that the body is just
the
like,
vehicle kind of type thing.
And what we are is that we are.
We are what we are. We always are.
Right? So
yeah.
And what we're here to do is to be, right? And so, like, the nature of our entity is that we are is-bees. Like, we are in order to be.
Yeah. I is, I be.
Yeah. So she calls herself Isbies, but she says that essentially, like, on Earth, it's a prison for Isbies because what the old empire would do is like entrap us in these bodies here, and then like use some sort of technology to like shock the body of the Isby
after death,
and to make them forget themselves and
after
all
death,
their memory,
and then they just get.
And that, yeah, basically the whole like reincarnation thing and the whole like going to the light is all part of
that process of being shocked and then put into storage and then used again later on.
Right. And so you get forced into that reincarnation cycle as part of the imprisonment here.
Wow.
and that basically Earth is full of like terrible criminals as well as like basically galactic revolutionaries who've been a problem for the Empire.
All right.
And that's why we have such. So
the new emperor wants to in this theory the new empire wants to keep us held down as well, or is that the old empire? And
they don't seem to care that much. To be honest,
they just kind of let it happen.
They just are here in the area doing their science and stuff, and we're here. I think she said she was in the area to check on like some of the the nuclear weapons testing when like lightning struck her craft or whatever, causing her to crash. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a whole book with like a whole transcript and everything. So I think it'd be super fun to go over. But
yeah, I'm down.
I really like that concept of like the whole idea. It's just funny because it's like it gives this like angels versus demons feeling. It gives this like War of the Gods feeling. It gives this
theory, almost
like lining up with red and blue craft. Like it gives, it sort of like connects into spirituality and connects into religion, and you know, maybe it's convenient for all those reasons, right? And it is written by or it was published by a guy who is a science fiction author. So like no one knows if any of it's true, right?
Sure.
No reason to believe it's true.
Another fiction, yeah.
But that was the case with the Lacerda files too. But it's still worth a read.
Still definitely worth like just like thinking of what ifs.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Chris Ramsey the way he sets it all up, because he does that. He's like, hey, just like you don't have to believe or disbelieve, just experience it. Right?
Yeah, just experience it like you would any other science fiction novel.
Yeah, just let it wash over you, take in the information, and
do with it.
You don't have to lay
on it.
You don't have to lay down a determination on it, right?
Dwell on it for any longer than that.
Right. So anyway, I think that would be a fun one. So I bought the book.
Nice. Yeah, well, let's go through that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. All right, well, we're about 30 minutes in now. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and keep going here. Appreciate y'all. Enjoy this song.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to queue up new music. So it'll be the same song as last week for the first break.
All right. Sounds good. Enjoy.
That's gonna stain. Well, washing machine I put in will fix that.
It's automatic, Joe, but it doesn't clean the side.
Are you using bold automatic in it?
Well, no. But the part that I use is for automatic storage. Safety.
It's mellow beats banging, summer breeze blowing by. Got me thinking about my life and I'm sitting wondering why. But today I don't mind and I don't really care, cause there's something in the air and it's got me feeling high and I feel good. I can feel a change coming, grinding, working for my money, cause you know I'm just a country boy. Yeah, Manila born to be exact, and I'm always dropping that. I'm trying to put us on the map, usually expect the usual. Wake up like the Truman Show, but today there's something kinda beautiful, I know. If I work hard enough, whatever I have, everything else will grow. And my grandma told me that back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days where I was from, we were living it poor. One day I'll give back and make a difference. Instant classic when I'm rhyming on the jazz beats. Got your mind running when my words in the track meets. I'm so deep, the underground sax scene. Can't figure out if I'm top tier or I'm not here. Well, it's a little bit of both. Keep it low pro, but I'm postal when I push the envelope. Delivery is free like the bars are oak. I don't touch the paper anymore, I take mental notes. Fresh off the boat like I'm Eddie Wong. Probably said it wrong, but never mind, let's set it off. I mean, let's get it on. I mean, let's bet it all before we fall asleep. But for now, just breathe. Hey, what? Just breathe, homie. Yeah. Hello, good morning Sacramento. Woke up to instrumentals from the night before I met you. I should've never left you, but I had to from the get-go. But I came back to say that I never really let go. I cater served them with the first course, elevated from the first floor. Resurfaced on a surfboard, reverse regurgitated medications from my homies, just patiently waiting on my return from me to make more. And this is here is what I'm made for. Sacrifice and slave for. The OGs told me take yours. And I'll be honest, I've been honest since the problems your reconnaissance can find me in my conferences. Common sense, got the sense. I've been sick anonymous, that slept in my accomplishments. Consider this the consequence. Now call it real or call it dope, call it consciousness. I call it how I see it, even if you feel the opposite. Yeah, you now rocking with the best kept. Rocking till I'm breathless, mobbing by myself, yes. I overstand, so I tend to stress. I know you now, homie, don't forget. Just breathe. Hey. Yeah, just breathe, homie.
I just realized you were doing that on beat. Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right. So
I super unprofessionally ate a chocolate right as the music was coming back.
took you that long to open the wrapper?
No, but I was like sitting on it, and then I was
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna eat it now. And there was like a minute left.
So you're still licking your teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. So, let's go back to Z. You brought this tweet from Jesse Michels.
Oh, yes.
You want to read it, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll read this. So this is from Jesse Michels' Twitter account. And he's talking about Ingo Swann. So he says, this is Ingo Swann. He worked with the CIA. He claimed he could see Jupiter while sitting millions of miles away in a room. In 1973, he saw rings around Jupiter, and a detail later confirmed in 1979 by the Voyager space probe, which discovered the Jovian ring system. Ingo Swann was an American artist who had special psychic abilities, which means he could do things like extrasensory perception, ESP, and psychokinesis, or moving objects with his mind. Because of his abilities, he took part in experiments in the 1970s that showed these powers might be real. He played an important role in the study of remote viewing. He was involved in remote viewing experiments established by the U.S. Army and the CIA in collaboration with the Stanford Research Institute, or SRI. This clandestine initiative, codenamed Project Stargate, later became the basis for the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, starring George Clooney and Jeff Bridges.
Have you ever seen that movie? I've never seen that movie.
I've never actually seen that movie. I want to watch it now.
Yeah. Well, CIA.gov link. What is this?
Visit of Ingo Swann to AMSIA, October 17th, 1978. Grill flame participants.
Huh.
The hell does that mean?
That's sounds like a operation code name.
Yeah.
Dynamic PK experiment.
Men Who Stare at
with Ingo
Goats is what it
Swann.
sounds like.
This is like
Grill
links
flame.
to a whole bunch of more things. So this
Cool.
is like
FO.
CIA.
FOIA. That's FOIA.
Yeah. All the FOIA documents having to do with Ingo
So we're
Swann.
literally on the CIA.gov reading room
Yeah.
on Ingo Swann. So this is actually in the FOIA, Freedom of Information electronic reading room.
Very cool. Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of documents here.
Wow. Approved for release in 2000. Wow.
They have them digitized
Oh, wow.
and they have
And
the
then-
originals.
The scans.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, this is a cool source.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Jesse Michels. We'll drop a link here to the CIA.
I know he mentioned making like a whole, like we mentioned it on one of our previous podcasts about his like whole like
Yes.
like database that he's starting of everything and every link, every book, everything that he's ever talked about on the thing.
That was one of his listeners, I think, who posted that on Twitter, we shared on one of our previous shows. And I believe I have it bookmarked myself.
Yeah, but that's it's a good resource to have.
Totally,
both of those.
Oh, this is a tweet thread. He says, in July 1971, Ingo Swann took part in an experiment during a party where people were trying to photograph signs of psychic powers in a dark room. In Swann's photo, a ball of light appeared above his head. This event, along with other experiences, helped him realize that he had psychic abilities, which he had first noticed when he was a child. This led him to become involved in the study of psychic phenomena. One researcher, Gertrude Schmeidler, tested him at the American Society for Psychical Research. Swann was able to change the temperature of graphite samples without touching them. This setup was carefully controlled to avoid outside influence. For example, the temperature sensor was kept in a thermos 25 feet away. Instructions were given in a strict pre-planned order, alternating between trying to make things hotter or colder. Results showed that Swann could change the temperature near the target and also cause the opposite effect in a faraway area. These changes weren't based on physical factors like distance, but rather on mental or psychological ones. That reminds me, and I wonder if he's going to go here, the recent How Put Off interview on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
When he was telling his whole story on how he got into this stuff, the remote viewing research, and when he met Ingo Swann.
Mm-hmm.
And he said at the time, or no, it was Jacques Vallée, not How Put Off. I believe that was... No, it was How Put Off.
I think it, yeah.
Yeah. He was saying that at SRI... he brought Ingo there, and they like came up with a way to test it, and in the building there was like some of the researchers, because it's just Advanced Research Institute, right? So they got all sorts of nerdy stuff in there, right? And they had this like computer chip that was like super isolated, like almost like a precursor to like quantum computer chip or something, right?
It's like a supercomputer chip at that time.
Like super cooled and shielded and everything.
Yeah.
And he said Ingo was able to get it to, or he was able to like draw out the design of the thing, even though you could only like all of the design of that was inside all the shielding. And he was able to also manipulate it.
Wow. So he was able to see through it. So when they say they took a picture of him in a dark room at the beginning of this post here, like that ball of light that maybe have something to do with his psychic ability, like what that immediately made me like imagine is psychic phenomenon being a literal extension of your body, as if like an actual like sixth sense, where it's this light of like ball of energy that is somehow like quantumly entangled with your mind, so it can travel anywhere whilst being connected to your mind, and it can go inside other people's minds and telepathically read their minds, or it can move to the graphite on the table and heat it up. Like it is energy, and you are able to manipulate it. And like maybe some of these like maybe they don't understand that fully, like when they're experiencing it, like maybe it doesn't feel that way. Like you're not like seeing a ball of light, like, but like your focus is what's driving it. So if you focus on something, it's there on your focus point,
right? Reading
whatever information it needs to read, doing whatever it is you're asking it to do by focusing on it and giving it a directive. And it can just be anywhere, and you can even do it with your eyes closed, like the remote viewing, like
right?
Using shutting out your auditory and like other senses, or your visual senses, and then you're able to project it and use it as a sense that's going to give you some sort of picture or energy signal via that quantum entanglement connection.
I wonder if it's that, or if it's like it could be a projection coming off of you, but what if it's like your spirit, like someone who has that sort of like psychic talent, maybe they're able to essentially go out of body, and maybe that's their that's like an aspect of themselves, or
that
that's
orb,
their,
that thing, you know, that's captured above.
Which makes me picture from the telepathy tapes where they were talking about
yeah.
Do you remember, I think it was the episode where they had the teachers, they were talking about the teachers working with the kids.
Yeah. And them having the connection. Well,
and yeah, like one of the teachers first met one of the children she worked and ended up working with for a long time. And she was like, something like, do you know why I'm here? And he's like, yeah, you're here to help me put my spirit back in my body. Or something like that.
Was that during a near-death experience?
No, but this teacher was sort of explaining that she thinks, or at least her impression of what this like severe non-speaking form of autism is that it may be some sort of maybe a misalignment or a misconnection between like the spiritual body and the physical body, so that there's not like a full
connection
like there should be.
Spiritually and energetically speaking, you are exactly who you're meant to be, but without the connection to your physical body.
Yeah.
Which then limits your capabilities. Which gives you these extrasensual perceptions, because you can live partially in a body and mostly out of the body.
Right. Or at least like because you're not fully connected, that you're not shut off. Your body, if the body's job is to shut you out and like confine you to the physical world, right?
Yeah.
Then if you don't have a full connection, then it can't complete that task, right?
Right.
And so maybe that's the natural explanation for why they have such talent with these sort of like spiritual gifts.
Yeah, and the only like other connection you might have if you don't have one of these is birth and death.
Right.
Those are the only two connections to your spirit outside of that, unless you're given one of these, you have one of these gifts where you can, you know, break through. There's some sort of traumatic thing that lets you happen in your past, maybe.
Yeah.
That like it leaves you open to seeing the truth or partial truth and being able to use your abilities that are just inherently capable, you know, possible, but aren't used due to some sort of voodoo magic.
The tweet chain continues. He says, rocket emoji for more fascinating information.
Yeah, he's throwing in some promotion.
Check out, and do this. Check out the Jesse Michaels YouTube channel if you haven't yet.
Absolutely.
It's freaking amazing. It says around the same time, Swann also worked with Cleve Baxter, interrogation specialist for the CIA, who studied how plants react to thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
But after a few tries, the plant stopped reacting, possibly because it learned nothing bad would happen. When a new threat like acid was imagined, the plant reacted again. But this too faded over time. They believe these meant plants might have some kind of awareness or consciousness. Swann tried to affect a plant that was hooked up to a lie detector. When he imagined burning the leaf, the machines showed a reaction, as if the plant was stressed. But after a few tries, the plant stopped reacting, possibly because it learned nothing bad would happen. When a new threat like acid was imagined, the plant reacted again, but this too faded over time. They believe this meant plants might have some kind of awareness or consciousness. That is the same paragraph.
Copy paste.
Swann also influenced the electrical behavior of graphite and other tests, both from nearby and remotely. He even affected pressurized gas in small containers. Electrodes picked up changes in electron activity at the exact times when he was focusing on the gas, almost like he was sending invisible energy beams into it. He called these psi probes. He was also able to affect his own blood cells. Because of these successes, Swann became more deeply involved in the research on psychic abilities.
That's exactly what I was talking about, those psi probes. That's what it sounds like.
Interesting.
It's like directed energy, freaking psycho, you know, what is it?
Swann continued doing psychic research for a long time at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, and there's a link here, ingoswann.com/empiricist. Knowledge explorer / intellectual disciple. I don't see the logic of rejecting data just because they seem incredible. Astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle, who's the one who worked with Chandra Vikramasinghe. Senses beyond the five. Look at Ingo. Partial list of Ingo's experiments. Dude, let's check out. How long are these? Oh, that's an hour. 10.
Yeah, that was 13 minutes.
Cool.
We can check that out another time, though.
Yeah, no. I want to check these out. They might be worth sharing on here. Parapsychology series. University of West Georgia's consciousness research. Dude, this is a cool resource here, this page.
Yeah, we'll link this for y'all. That's cool.
When he first arrived at SRI, he was tested again for his psychokinetic PK abilities at a nearby lab. In this test, he tried to mentally affect the magnetic field of a very sensitive device called a Josephson junction, which was inside a quark detector. This was probably the thing I'm talking about. This machine is designed to pick up tiny particles smaller than atoms. The equipment was completely sealed off. It was covered with layers of aluminum and copper and buried deep in concrete, so no one could physically reach it. During the time Swann was visualizing changes, the machine recorded unusual changes in its output. These changes couldn't be explained by things like traffic vibration or Swann secretly moving around. At one point, he even managed to stop the output of the device for 45 seconds. This was such a surprising result that the only way to explain it, if you didn't believe in PK, would be to assume that someone running the experiment was cheating or helping him, which was not the case. Dang, he's got like a whole tweet thread history of Ingo. There's a few more. We can finish this out if you want. Cleve Baxter.
Yeah, go down to that one for Stargate. I'm going to talk about the Stargate stuff right there, yeah. So, for Stargate, Swann and a group of psychics and used their abilities to spy on Russia from Palo Alto, California, even remotely discovering a downed Soviet spy plane under a jungle canopy in the African country of Zaire, after the U.S. Department of Defense had deemed it lost. I think we've heard this one before.
Yeah, that was the story that Joe McMoneagle related.
Yeah.
It was Reagan, I think.
Was it?
That it was under, and who like just announced it to the world. It was supposed to be top secret.
This was like their kind of coming out party.
Right, yeah.
For the remote
someone like program. Asked him what was the weirdest thing he saw as a president, and he told that story.
That's right. Swann's various remote views of celestial bodies included Jupiter, Mercury, the Moon, and Mars. 1975, 76, and 84. Selected information on these sessions is provided below. More can be found on his archives at the University of West Georgia. In one early test, Swann had given map was given map coordinates for 10 different locations and had identified the correct one and had to identify the correct one. He got it right 7 times, which is better than the random chance. He was equally successful when the coordinates were scrambled or when the places he viewed were secret locations in China or Russia. Later verified by satellite images, these showed his ability was truly psychic, not just a strong memory of geography. Swann had many impressive successes. For example, he accurately described details of the French-controlled island of Kerguelen, including a joint French-Russian weather station. He also described the rings around the planet Jupiter 6 years before the Voyager spacecraft confirmed them. His description of crystals in Jupiter's atmosphere was later confirmed by the Galileo space mission.
Interesting. Okay, so here's some of his planetary stuff. In 1973, remote viewing probe of the planet Jupiter. In 1973, the scientific community, universities, and the media strongly rejected any research into psychic or paranormal abilities, including parapsychology and psychoenergetics. So it was surprising and shocking when the Stanford Research Institute ties to the military and intelligence agencies began researching these topics. One of the early experiments was called the Jupiter probe. Its goal was to explore and understand how far human remote sensing abilities could reach. That is, the ability to sense or perceive things from a distance without using normal senses. Because these abilities were so unusual, the experiment was considered very radical and carefully reviewed by top scientists and supervisors before it happened. The Jupiter probe experiment was run by respected physicists Dr. H.E. Puthoff, that's Hal Puthoff, and Russell Targ, SRI's radiophysics laboratory. Despite this, some people who don't believe in psychic research have mocked the experiment without actually studying it carefully. 2 key points skeptics often ignore is that the Jupiter probe was meant only as a first exploratory test and not as a claim that remote sensing to distant planets is real. Also, skeptics tend to hide the fact that the experiment had important and respected sponsors and scientific oversight. The experiment's unusual subject, remote sensing a planet far away like Jupiter, was very different from a simpler psychic test common at the time, like guessing cards. This new, bold topic made both mainstream scientists and even parapsychologists uncomfortable because it challenged accepted ideas about what is possible. He could see how it was shining with a blinding light. He could look at it from all directions of his mind's eye. At first, everything was seen in miniature, and then everything was suddenly expanded. These visions are inside me, then outside. There is a yellow cast to space, and seeming dark objects show through. They can be other moons of 17, of contrasting colors or densities. The impressions come to me that there are 17, some yet undiscovered by Earth scientists, much closer to Jupiter, and spawned by the conclusive volcanic action in the interior. Interesting. So he's predicting that the freaking volcanic interior of Jupiter can cause it to eject moons out of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a moon birther.
Yeah, which reminds you of
The
Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
According to the document, Ingo also saw rings around Jupiter, but he said that they were not as noticeable as that of Saturn. Later in 1979, the space probe Voyager confirmed the existence of the Jovian ring system. However, the hypothesis of its existence was put forward by Soviet astronomer Sergei Vyshkevsky in the 1960s.
Vyshkevsky.
So he could have read the theory.
Right.
What's this web archive document? Oh, this is a document. This is a retelling of his remote viewing of Jupiter.
Ooh. All right. Well, maybe let's take a quick break and maybe we can read some more of this.
Dude, this is cool. Yeah.
This is putting us down a rabbit hole, and I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I linked it. I think I went down I think I was doing this, just jumping through a bunch of these when I first found it, and then I was like, yeah, let's just do this on the show.
Dude, thanks for the thorough tweets, Jesse.
Yeah, he's been killing it with the
making
tweets
good
this month.
content on YouTube and on Twitter.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back soon for the third segment.
All right, see you in a bit.
Of a fool sent out into the wild, pretend that I know what to do. Oh Lord, oh my, I can't describe. Oh Lord, oh my, I can't describe the feel. I don't speculate, I don't speculate, I don't speculate you. I don't speculate, I don't speculate, I don't speculate you.
Welcome back.
Forgot about our ambiance.
All right. You got a quote for us, or should I?
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius, beginning of Book 4 in Meditations. That which rules within, when it is according to nature, is so affected with respect to the events which happen, that it always easily adapts itself to which is, and is presented to it, for it requires no definite material, but it moves towards its purpose. Under certain conditions, however, and it makes a material for itself out of that which opposes it. A fire lays hold of what falls into it, by which a small light would have been extinguished. But when the fire is strong, it soon appropriates to itself the matter which is heaped on it, and it consumes it, and rises higher by means of the very material. Interesting. Yeah, so like kind of like what we were talking about earlier with like Isby.
Oh, interesting.
You are and you be based on you, like what it is that you are experiencing has nothing to do with any other individual. If you are this Isby kind of entity.
Yeah.
And as you consume, you know, whatever it is that you consume, you rise higher towards that purpose.
Yeah. Dude, so many times on those, like I get caught up on like one thing he says and then I start thinking about it as you keep reading on. And then like I missed the whole meaning thinking on like one part of it.
I just lost it probably, but.
No, it's all good.
I can read it again. Oh, here we go. Found it.
Dang.
That which rules within, when it is according to nature, is so affected with respect to the events which happen, that always easily adapts itself to that which is and is presented to it. For it requires no definite material, but it moves towards its purpose. Under certain conditions, however, and it makes a material for itself out of that which opposes it. As fire lays hold of what falls onto it.
Hang on, before we get to that part. This is where he starts stretching the metaphor that I'm thinking of. So he's saying that which is within. So, like, I'm taking that just as, like, your soul, your spirit, whatever, right?
Right.
Is so affected by what is outside, right? That's what it's saying. That it's constantly adapting, like it's always making itself ready for whatever is going on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it becomes easily adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's saying that it requires no like definite material, so like it is making what it needs as it's going. There's no like
it's not being fueled by the body, by your. Like, it doesn't need to eat. It doesn't need to breathe. It doesn't need any of that stuff. That's all for the body.
And it's just constantly moving towards its purpose.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says under the certain conditions, it creates its own material for itself out of that which opposes it.
That's
so what comes into contact with it.
That which opposes it. Maybe that what it's coming in contact with.
Yeah. And I think that is what's shaping who you ultimately, like it says,
it makes
the fire, and then it goes into another metaphor, as the fire lays hold of what falls into it, by which a small light would have been extinguished. But when the fire is strong, it soon appropriates to itself the matter which is heaped on it, and consumes it, and rises higher by means of this very material.
So by doing things, by bumping into things, by interacting with the world, you are bringing the fire of your consciousness, your spirit, into contact with the tinder of these experiences in the world, and that is burning your fire brighter and
further towards your purpose in the long run.
Right. It's growing and developing your character, your spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it can reach out and reunite with itself, you know, in a sense.
Yeah. Interesting. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Way to go, Marcus.
All right. Do you want to do tarot? Or do you want to jump back into some of this? And
I drew a card, so.
This dang freaking cable.
Dude, mine too. I think we need a new splitter.
Yeah. I think we need a new one of these at some point.
New interface?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. But we could probably just get like a hardware splitter instead of using like a cable. If you use a cable, like it's constantly, the cable's going to break on the inside. It's going to deteriorate from moving all the time. So
that's true.
And if we get a hardware one, we can have like volume knobs for each of us.
Yeah.
So if one of us wants more or less volume,
that'd
we can
be
do
nice.
that. So
anyway,
I drew the card, which is the same one I drew over and over and over on the retreat. Did I tell you this story?
The retreat.
So me and my friends went off.
Okay.
Yeah, we went off on like a visit to the California coast. We got ourselves a Airbnb.
Yeah.
And
did you tell the story on?
I don't think I did, at least not in detail. But I'm going to tell it because this is important to the card we just drew.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to get an Airbnb and hang out for the weekend and have our first time trying acid together.
Mm.
And we did it on a Saturday, and we hung out on the beach, which was right outside the back patio of our house we were staying at. It was freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
Later on in the night, like during the come down, at some point, we were hanging out inside the house. We had music on. I was like super vibing with it. And I had my tarot deck up there, and I just kept shuffling and drawing cards.
Yeah.
And the acid was like making the cards come to life. It was like the Harry Potter newspapers, you know, where the photos
popped out and like started moving and stuff.
Yeah, it was like that for every tarot card I drew.
It's like a 3-dimensional like object at that point.
Yeah. And I would just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle and then draw a card. And then I would stare at it, and the artwork would move and morph, and then I would shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and I would draw a card. And I shit you not, Drew, about 50% of the time I drew a card, it was the same card.
Really?
Out of the entire tarot deck. I wasn't just shuffling the major arcana.
Wow.
It was the whole deck. And about 50% of the time, I chose the exact same card, and it's this
That's
card,
crazy.
which is Temperance.
Temperance.
Yeah, so check that out while I pull up the website for it.
Did you?
There, yeah. So go ahead and describe it.
So yeah, we got. I'll hold it up still while I'm describing it.
I'll pull it up here on the page here in a second.
Red-winged. Can't tell if it's female or male, but person with golden. Way far away from the mic. I just realized.
You are.
Yeah. So red-winged.
There we go.
There we go. Whew, man, my arms. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, it's a guy like a red-winged person with golden curly hair.
It's number 14.
Number 14 card, and they're wearing a white gown with like a triangle and square on their chest. They're pouring from a gold chalice some water into another gold chalice that they're holding in their hands. The person's like floating or wading in the water near this like creek or river with flowers and like reeds behind it, or I don't know what you call it, grass, long grass.
Yeah.
It's got a floating crown with emanating like rays, like a sun, and it's got like what could be a snow-capped mountain followed by a volcano river flowing into the sea. I think it's probably just the sunset on it, but
yeah, it's reflecting the setting sun.
It's cool.
So,
it says Temperance.
According to the Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot, thanks, Amy, number 14, Temperance. Even in ancient times, temperance was considered to be one of the cardinal virtues. Oh, this card, by the way, is right between card number 13, Death, and card number 14, the Devil.
Oh. Okay.
The themes are finding the right measure and aiming for the highest goals of life. The card is an invitation to grasp the contradictions of life with both hands. Basic meaning. The alchemist referred to the Mysterium Conjunctionis. The Mysterium Conjunctionis.
Okay.
That's a weird word.
I can't see it.
The secret of union, which they regarded as the aim of the great work. Opus Magnum, the great work, I think just being life, the universe, right? As the marriage between heaven and earth. The greatest works, however, are lifelong tasks. This portrayed in the long road, the undertakings which are so large they take up whole lifespan. Goals which awaken the angel within you, your higher self, your great potential, and bring it to fruition. So, as the card for the day, it says, grasp for true contradictions of your life with both hands.
Okay.
So some of the symbols it shows in here is an angel on earth. So the angel is the only figure in the picture. Here, there is no way around the need to get to grips with one's heavenly potential. It has to do with one's higher self, but also with unrealistic idealism. The breastplate of the angel has a triangle. It says the amulet. The triangle stands for femininity and spirituality. The square for masculinity and matter, bringing their opposite aspects into a state of productive tension. Above the amulet, the 4 Hebrew letters JHVH. That's Jehovah. Mixing liquefaction is another symbol in here. Contradictions are resolved and reconciled by creating the potential difference between them so that things can flow. Finding the right measure also means achieving the right state of tension and balance of opposites. The blue water symbolizes reappears in the blue of the mountains. Spirituality, mind, and soul, which determines both the origin and the goal. The light blue warns us against naivety and wishful thinking.
What about the lava?
The lengthy path, it says. The legendary true will, life's plan. Aim, the right tasks in life which we bring to a favorable conclusion and which bring us thereto. A warning against long-windedness, false idols, and complicated procedures. So stay true to your life path and don't overcomplicate it. Fire
and your soul and your spirit and your higher body or whatever are like helping temper your knowledge through the path. But ultimately give you like the hope and the realization that, interesting.
So I drew this card over and over, and the artwork for it on the
other deck that you had. That's right. Yeah,
it was super cool. So
I wish we had it with us so we could see it, or you could look it up maybe.
Maybe.
It had a different name though, huh?
Darkwood Tarot Temperance.
Images.
There it is.
Is that it?
Yeah. So she's also mixing the fluid between
colors.
The two cups. There's a long river, but it's got the tower in the background, which is a reference to one of the other cards in the tarot.
It tells a different story in this too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has like a whole storyline behind it. It's pretty cool.
Anyway, yeah, it was super weird. I just kept drawing it over and over, and
I just
was
wanted
like,
to see what you saw 3D there.
like on like the 5th or 6th time I drew it, I was like, there's no way this
card keeps coming, popping out.
Yeah, like the odds are getting
Unless you're
diminishingly small.
You're playing a magic trick on yourself and you don't know it.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh. And I would just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and it would just come right back up.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to Ingo Swann here.
Yeah.
So this is a continuation of the part where he was talking about remote viewing Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, scientists later confirmed 13 surprising details Swann described. These included things like a layer of hydrogen gas around the planet, strong storms and tornado-like cyclones, very high heat detected in infrared unusual temperature layers, the colors and shape of clouds, orange as the main color, presence of water or ice crystals in the air, and even a ring inside Jupiter's atmosphere. Inside the atmosphere.
Wow.
Many of these things were confirmed by scientific research between the 70s and early and late 70s, with some confirmed as early as 1973 and others as late as 1979. Scientists initially did not believe there was a ring inside Jupiter's atmosphere until it was officially discovered in 1979. Swann may have also given the CIA information about ancient civilizations on Mars. The CIA started the Stargate project in 1970 because they heard the Soviet Union was spending a lot of money on research into psychic phenomena. Some people who don't believe in psychic research have mocked this experiment, but they often miss two important points. First, the Jupiter remote viewing was just an initial test, not a definite claim of discovery. Second, the experiment had strong support and oversight from respected scientists and organizations. Trying to remotely sense a faraway planet was a very unusual and challenging idea, going against normal scientific beliefs beyond the parapsychology methods at the time. 6 of those 13 factors were given scientific substantiation by 1975 before Jupiter's ring was scientifically discovered in 1979. Most scientists flatly denounced the possibility of the ring.
Yeah, you're crazy until you're not crazy.
Right. You want this one?
Yeah. In February of 1975, Swann was contacted by a high-ranking official in Washington who warned him that a man named Axelrod would call him. Soon after, Swann met Axelrod in a mysterious way. He was blindfolded and flown by helicopter to a secretive underground place. Axelrod was not his real name, adding to the secrecy. Axelrod told Swann that the government wanted to use his remote viewing abilities for a secret mission that offered him large payment. Swann agreed. Axelrod asked what Swann knew about the moon, revealing that the government wanted the moon to be remote viewed. When Swann began remote viewing the moon, he saw surprising images. He described a huge tower as big as a famous United Nations building, and was told it wasn't built by humans, but by unknown extraterrestrials. Excuse me. In later sessions, Swann saw many strange things like the dome-shaped buildings, advanced machines, tall towers, and large cross-shaped structures. Strange tubes and mining activities. It seems someone had built a secret base on the moon. Swann also saw a group of naked human-like people inside some kind of enclosure, digging into a cliff. Suddenly, Axelrod stopped the sessions, warning that these beings might have noticed Swann was watching, and that he could be in danger. Axelrod asked if Swann knew a man named George Leonard, who Swann did not know. Leonard was writing a book called Somebody Else is on the Moon, published in 1977, which described strange structures on the moon, exactly the kind of things Axelrod was worried about. Swann and Axelrod had several secret meetings that felt like scenes from a spy movie. These meetings ended suddenly in 1977, leaving Swann unsure if what he saw was an alien base or a secret Earth-based facility on the moon. The mystery is still unsolved, but it raises questions about aliens secretly using the moon, similar to the other claims about aliens on Earth. A 1997 book, Remote Viewers by Jim Schnabel, discusses U.S. intelligence's use of psychic spying in the 1970s. One remote viewer, Pat Price, believed that Mount Hayes in Alaska was home to a large alien base. He described these aliens as human-like, but with different internal organs and the ability to control people's minds. Price said that the base caused problems for both U.S. and Soviet space missions.
Interesting. I wonder what this video is here. It's 4 minutes. We could play this and then take a break.
Sure.
Clueless on this target. I have no. Is this somebody we should know?
I got some weird stuff. I'll explain it all. It's easier if we go for it.
All right, well, let's get in.
I've got some slides as feedback because some of you might not know the background to this. It is a bit wordy. It's probably about 8 or 9 slides. Just bear with me. I'll read through it because it's also good for the subscribers, to know the history of this. Because they need to know a little bit about it.
The oh shit moment approaches. Here it is.
But I'm sure that once you see what it is, you'll all be frantically looking for your RV sessions on screen anyway, and you won't be listening to what I'm talking about feedback wise.
It's Tom Hanks.
So I'm going to share the screen. So this target came about from a discussion with myself and researcher Richard Dolan about Ingo Swann and the elusive Axelrod. And this was several months back. After Richard had worked with us on our Bob Lazar project, I approached him and asked him if he had any RV targets he'd like us to look at and provide good data and answer. His response was to see if we could shed some light that may lead us in the direction of Mr. Axelrod, which is the project at hand. For those of you who don't know, this is the cue for it. So it's target 01121975, and the target was the real person known as Axelrod, from Ingo Swann's experiences from the era at the Penetration book, 1975 onwards. In early February 1975 is where this truly strange story begins, with a phone call from a highly placed functionary in Washington, D.C. He told Swann that he would get contacted by a Mr. Axelrod and urged Swann to help if he could and to ask no questions. About 4 weeks later, Axelrod called, and to cut the story short, Swann agreed to meet him, and he gets picked up by 2 military-looking guys, gets frisked, and whilst wearing a black hood is taken to an underground facility. There he meets Axelrod, who, needless to say, acknowledges that his name is just a pseudonym. He's an employee for an agency that exists without leaving a paper trail regarding our mission, and that's what he said. It turns out that Axelrod wants Swann to view the dark side of the moon, and Swann was well paid at $1,000 a day to do this, and he agreed to not reveal anything about the project for at least 10 years. Here are a couple of sketches Ingo did when he actually did that for them at that underground facility. So here's some of the sketches of some of the things he claimed to have seen on the moon itself in his RV session. So Ingo remote views the moon and sees evidence of alien bases, including structures emitting light and industrial activity. Later in the book, Axelrod and the 2 military-like types take Swann to a lake somewhere in the north. Ingo kind of thinks that this might have been in Alaska. And they took him there to observe a UFO. And from the book, the reader gets the impression that it arrives there at certain times to get water. Rather than just observing the UFO, they all have to flee when the UFO appears to start killing off animals within the vicinity. Now, when I asked Ingo face-to-face about the book in 2011 and its claims, he was adamant that it all happened and it was all true. I've also interviewed several of Ingo's closest friends and associates, and they all say Ingo did not lie, and they too believe it's a true account that he experienced. And also, Ingo's Axelrod character was also mentioned in the notorious Eric Walker Davis Wilson notes leak. This happened a few years ago. And these leaked notes from the Admiral Wilson meeting was discussing black budget special access programs studying alien technology. And they mentioned, Ingo and Mr. Axelrod in those notes as well.
Did they talk about Ingo in those notes? We went over that whole document.
Well, I think they go over the psychic phenomena, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Ingo, one of his stories was in there. I don't think they covered it like we're getting like all the details of it now.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was in there. Like it kind of passed by it. Yeah. It was I've heard this story, all these stories with Ingo Swann, because I think it was on like Y-Files. And
yeah.
I think even Jesse talked about it.
Jesse's talked about him a lot. The other thing that's really interesting about this is when they were talking about I lost my train. Oh yeah, this it sounded like, have you heard of this group? I forget where I heard about this. It's like a modern group of remote viewers who just like remote view different things.
Yeah. Do they post online?
Anyway, no, I got the impression that they were like going to like modern remote viewers to remote view this Axelrod guy and get more details about him.
Like learn more, like instead of using AI.
Yeah.
They
So
went to,
like
the remote viewers.
Imagine like in your like, if you're a UFO researcher, or conspiracy researcher, or ancient civilization researcher, imagine using a remote viewer or some sort of psychic phenomena to help you, like point you in a direction.
Yeah, give you some more information to go certain directions.
It's like a way to get like to try and make a break
your
in your story happen.
Yeah. Like you've gotten to a certain point, but now you have to dig in the dirt.
Right. Like now
you have to go and
whatever's next comes from is going to be a matter of chance. So like, might as well employ some tactic to like try and point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like if you can get clues as to the identity as Axelrod, then you can go start hunting down those clues and checking out know, the reality of those. But
yeah, it reminds me again of this like idea of like just the whole remote viewing, like this idea of like you having like this actual energetic force that's like quantumly entangled with your mind, and it's like another version of it's like just an extension of you that's always around, but how far it can reach is dependent on your ability to use it.
I think it's because the nature of reality is more fundamental than the physical universe, and so the distance is kind of an illusion.
Right.
You can be anywhere. Right. As long as you project yourself there, you're just there. Like,
and that's why I mean like the limitations of like, or the suppression of the ability to use it and to understand that you are not just here in this one single location. You are able to expand and to like touch all the different aspects.
I forget whose video was recently, or presentation or podcast or whatever I was listening to. They were talking about an interview with one of these like old time people in the government who like knew a bunch of stuff, right?
Harold Malmgren.
It wasn't Malmgren.
Okay.
But there was like a question posed to them about space travel, like, and technology to travel. And he was like, we've had it all along.
Right.
It's our ability, like, all you have to do is close your eyes and focus your mind there. And you're there.
And, like, there's got to be some sort of, like, coordinates aspect to this. Like, like you got to be able to, like, somehow reference your ability, like, the difference in space, unless there is some sort of, like, not physical, but like connection to everything all at once in one without having to move. Like,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
are outside of the space and time, then there is no aspect of moving. It's more of like focusing. So like,
Right.
there's no, you don't have to move anywhere. Everything's just kind of like brought to you as you need it, when you need it.
You just step outside and you step back in.
Yeah.
There.
Or you don't. You just, it changes to your focus.
Right.
You
Because
know?
you're everywhere always anyway.
Yeah. See,
Right.
like once you get outside of all the time and space where you're not even concerned with the, chronological order of things,
Yeah.
like as soon as you like outside, I'm talking about like you're at this is like your soul or your like spirit that's like attached to you, but outside of you. Like, so maybe there is some aspect of being somewhere physically, like if you were going to ever attach yourself, maybe there is only one physical body you can be in, but if you can somehow become aware of that other arm, that other sense, that other part of you that's higher in consciousness, or at least outside of this physical body, and use it for whatever reason you have that ability, like that would be crazy because you're just outside of time and space and you can move around while also being rooted in one physical location.
Right.
Because the possibilities, the probabilities, like, are like endless.
Maybe you're just
Infinite.
remembering your wiped memory from being a prisoner on this planet Earth, and you're actually uncovering the lost memory. That was like kind of where it went from with the Chris Ramsey episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, all these people who have these like abilities, the Ingo Swans and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like these are people who they're just connecting to their memory.
Right.
And he talked about people like who make great scientific progress are also having memories.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like that idea of like downloads coming from out the ether, the outside of themselves, and like their like intention is so strongly focused on the thing that they're trying to achieve or discover, that they're somehow tapping into this energetic force that's like open to anybody, but you have to have this really intentional focus on the thing that you're trying to achieve, or I guess that's all you can say about it.
All right, let's take our next break and then we'll finish up here.
All right, y'all, enjoy this. We'll be back in a few.
Hit record. Yeah. Snap with me. This is for you, for us. Yeah, sometimes I write music for the fuck of it, but most times it's for the love of it. I must have been a dreamer in my last lifetime, cause every night I catch a glimpse of my future. When I shut my eyes and touch the sky, but keep my feet planted on my roots, not afraid to toot my own horn. I was born for this, I was made a king, brought to earth without my wings, just words to sing with. So just listen in the sun like her lips, with a kiss from her tongue, get a rush like a hit from the blunt to the lungs, and it burns like my grave, from the cradle to the grave. I promise I'd always stay the same, never change in my ways. I was stuck in a maze in a place called hell. I helped build myself, and the lessons I've dealt with, and I'm selfish, reckless with dope. I know at times I can't help it. I never had a lot, I never had much, but at least I got you, and at least we got love, and at least we got us. I said at least we got us. Yeah, I said I never had a lot, I never had much, but at least I got you, and at least we got love, and at least we got us. Yeah, he grew up all alone, always in his own zone, living for the moment, and he knew it all along, that he didn't belong with the rest of the kids. Why he always kept quiet and he kept in his own business. Middle of the night, my roaming like a nomad, scribbling his notepad. It's gotta be more to this life and this earth and this world, and what's worse is trying to find his purpose through a mic and a verse. Learn lessons the hard way, outcast like Andre, used to serve entrees, now it's 5 beats a day like he's Kanye. I thought I heard him say, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today, but I'll find a way, and I'll fight it out. So he takes the pain and he writes it down, elevate right off of the ground, there's no stopping him now. He turned around, started jotting us down. He said, I never had a lot, I never had much, but at least I got you, and at least we got love, and at least we got us. I said at least we got
portray as truth. Giving in, not giving up. Sounds easy if I got you.
You look her in the eyes and wonder if this could be it, the goodbye in the end after all of these years. And he's holding back tears from the pain that he feels, but he won't let it show, cause he knows that she just wanted more and he couldn't afford her. She changed for the worse and you gotta move forward. And she walks through the door and out of his life, he can't let her go. He ran outside, he said, I never had a lot, I never had much, but at least I got you, and at least we got love, and at least we have us. Yeah, I said I never had a lot, I never had much, but at least I got you, and at least we got love, and at least we have us.
I never had a lot, oh, I never had much, oh, at least we got us, at least we got us, at least we got us.
That was Us by M.Born, featuring TJ McNulty.
Was that John in the middle of that?
Or is it,
Where Carlo's about to get led back in after
he's like right here?
He's like right here. Is that John? Or is that you?
No, I think that's Carlo asking us if this is the spot.
This is the spot where he comes back in.
Yeah. Because
It
sometimes
sounded
when
like John to me, though.
It could be.
Like he was like right here. And then for whatever reason, the mic caught it.
I mean, yeah.
Probably. I don't know. Like if you
I don't
talking
think
to him in
we
the booth.
would ever record our booth mic, though, like our control room mic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be like one of those like accidental like recordings.
Well, it's just the difference in tone is from like Carlo being back here hanging out, and you're like, oh,
Maybe.
right here.
Maybe,
And then he comes up and he starts rapping.
Maybe.
Right? Like,
If for whatever reason,
puts on his rapper voice.
Yeah. No. But I noticed it. So
Yeah, that's cool.
the main point.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right here.
Yeah, so let's head back to finish out this tweet
It's turning
chain
out
about
to be an Ingo Swann episode.
yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
Jesse says, FYI, an interview with biochemist Colm Kelleher with New Thinking Aloud host Jeffrey Mishlove, who was manager of OSAP through contract with Bigelow Aerospace. He was also part of NIDS at Skinwalker. He also mentions an intelligence guy named Axelrod, but goes into more detail, like how he was deployed in Iraq and how Axelrod was at Skinwalker, along with Kelleher, Bigelow, and others, including some of their families.
Interesting.
One of the outcomes of publishing Hunt for the Skinwalker was that we had a guy called James T. Likatsky, who was a Defense Intelligence Agency analyst.
James Likatsky,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, because Lou talks about Jim Likatsky being the one in charge of OSAP when he started there.
Okay.
So he was kind of a mentor for Lou in the UFO OSAP.
Okay.
Worked at DIA. He had a background in ballistic missile physics. Very sort of accomplished guy who had worked as a contractor for the Missile Defense Agency and for over a dozen years with the Defense Intelligence Agency. Well, he read a copy of Hunt for the Skinwalker in early 2007, about 2 years after it was published. One of his co-workers was a guy named Axelrod. We call him Axelrod in the book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. It's not his real name, but he was also at the time a co-worker of Likatsky. And so Likatsky read the book, gave it to his friend Axelrod. Axelrod was just about to be deployed to Iraq on one of many missions to Iraq. So he ended up sitting in the green zone in Baghdad, sitting around the pool, reading the Hunt for the Skinwalker. And he told me a lot much later that the Hunt for the Skinwalker actually became a very popular book among people who were kicking back around the pool in the green zone in Baghdad. So, the bottom line for Lekatsky and Axelrod reading Hunt for the Skinwalker was that Lekatsky started thinking about the security implications of strange objects that were in the United States airspace and were flying without apparent any knowledge or know-how from the United States government, and they were flying over airspace in Utah, and it was seemingly without any feedback whatsoever. So Lekatsky wrote a letter to Robert Bigelow, who at the time was CEO of Bigelow Aerospace, and it was on Defense Intelligence Agency letterhead. And in the letter that Lekatsky wrote, he said that he was interested in exploring the national security applications and the security applications of what was going on at Skinwalker Ranch. Robert Bigelow then invited Lekatsky onto the property, and sort of within a couple of months of the letter, in July of 2007, Jim Lekatsky arrived on the property with Robert Bigelow, and he only stayed on the property a couple of hours because he was due back in Washington, D.C. the following day. So this was a really fast trip just to show him the property, essentially. But within 45 minutes of being on Skinwalker Ranch, they went into the ranch manager's homestead, which is a small house on the east side of Skinwalker Ranch. And Robert Bigelow was talking with the ranch manager, and Lekatsky was sort of standing there idly. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, behind where Robert Bigelow and the ranch manager were talking, this strange object suddenly, it was like a device, a mechanical-looking device, materialized in the kitchen right behind where the two of them were conversing.
Wow. I haven't read that book.
So that's within
Skinwalkers
2
at the
hours
Pentagon. So interesting. So Axelrod has connection not just with
Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, yes, Skinwalker Ranch and Ingo Swann, but also Jim Lekatsky and OSHAP. Yeah. And that he's saying, according to this, he worked in the OSHAP program with Lekatsky. Mm-hmm. So that means Lou probably knows who this guy is, too.
He probably does know his real name.
Yeah. So
I wonder if it's Lou.
Oh, interesting. No, I don't think it's Lou. They would just use Lou's name. He's public. No, this sounds like a guy who was involved in the Legacy program.
Right. A little bit older, yeah.
Yeah. All right. In the late 1990s, Ingo Swann was studied by a neuroscience team led by Michael Persinger at Laurentian University. They wanted to understand how his brain worked during remote viewing, his reported ability to see distant places or objects using only his mind. And there's a link to this YouTube video, which is a 2011 remote viewing by Michael Persinger. So this is Michael Persinger talking about probably testing the mind of Ingo Swann.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me get a second of this.
Why don't these experiences occur more frequently? Or is your brain more like a television remote that is randomly changing channels and ever so often overlaps with the source? What would happen if a procedure was developed that allowed direct access to whole information, to all of it? All right. Suppose there was a technology, and that's what we're talking about tonight. Can the ability to access information at a distance be trained? And the answer is yes, it is, and we've trained it. One such person is Ingo Swann, who helped develop the phenomenon of remote viewing.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is
so he's doing a presentation
to watch. Cool.
Skyscape.com.
In their first study, they found unusual brain activity in Swann while he was successfully remote viewing. Specifically, there were 7 hertz spikes and slow brain waves over the back part of his brain, known as the occipital lobes. MRI scans also showed that the part of his brain where the parietal and occipital areas meet, especially on the right side, was physically and functionally different from most people's brains. Persinger concluded that magnetic fields could enhance Swann's remote viewing, and that specific brain activity patterns were linked to when he succeeded. In a second study, Swann was asked to remote view images on cards, which had been exposed to patterned magnetic fields. Some cards were exposed to signals from DOS, an older computer, or from DOS, an older computer system, and others to Windows, a newer, more complex system. Swann could view the DOS exposed cards accurately, but not the Windows exposed ones. Persinger believed that this was because the simpler magnetic field from DOS helped with remote viewing, while the more complicated field from Windows interfered with and made it harder to focus on the target. Swann died on January 31st, 2019. Or 2013.
Yeah.
Jeez. Can't read.
So, man, 2013. So he was still doing this remote viewing thing until then, I'm assuming, right? Or did he die of old age?
I don't know. And then it also has a link here to UAP Files podcast.
Cool.
Which I imagine is also an episode about Swann. Sarfati and Ramirez are talking.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, the whole Ingo Swann remote viewing stuff is so fascinating.
Yeah, remote viewing itself is pretty interesting. And then Hal talked about this a lot on his interview on Rogan, too. He was talking about that they could pretty much train anyone, like, and they would have people show up from different like government agencies and whatnot, and like be skeptical. And like he told the story of this one guy who came to like observe and throw some tests at them to investigate, and they kept passing the tests. And he still didn't believe, though, until he had the guy himself actually do a remote viewing.
Right.
And he ended up drawing this like particular shape of like what turned out to be like he was like tracking put off and someone else when they left the building and went somewhere, and this guy back in the building was told to draw pictures of where they were, and ended up drawing like a playground set or whatever, and they were like at a park.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, he was like, okay, I believe. And then I believe the same guy like ended up as part of the program as one of the remote viewers. Yeah.
Oh, wow. He stuck with it, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Remote viewing is interesting. And I thought it was really cool, too, the descriptions of the procedure of it.
Right.
I found it super interesting that the way they do it is you're not just by yourself, and they talk about like you have to turn off the analytical side of your brain, and that's why it's all about drawing, because drawing is activating the artistic side of your brain.
Right.
And they had like a specific term for it that was really cool, but basically you have yourself, and then you have a person who is like paired with you, and that person is meant to like ask you probing questions and whatnot, to like make it so that you don't have to have your analytical side of your brain engaged. So that person is the person between you and the experimenter who is kind of keeping you on task as you draw, and they're sort of acting as like the analytical side of your brain so that you don't have to engage with that.
I see. So they're the ones putting together the puzzle pieces while you're just trying to focus on the imaging.
Yeah, you'll give like an impression of what you're seeing or feeling, and they'll ask you clarifying questions, right? And they talk about like one of the things you have to learn to be a successful remote viewer is to, like, when you get an impression or an image, is to not immediately try and assume what that means.
Right.
Because as soon as you do that, you start engaging the analytical side of the brain, which is trying to make sense of the information you're gathering.
So you're becoming biased in that.
Right. Well, it will end up reducing whatever you're seeing to something, but that likely won't be what it actually, what the source of it is. So the longer you can keep the analytical side turned off while you keep asking questions of the creative
and
side.
Getting further and further along, so those pieces start
right. The more you can flesh out those details before you start analytically trying to make sense of what they mean, the more likely you are to have a successful remote view.
Yeah, it's almost like putting a puzzle together.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I find it surprising how easy they made it sound that it is to do. Like, that they could basically get almost anyone to have successful remote viewing sessions.
We need to get a coach. Oh, all right.
Which, like, makes you
need to
think,
get a remote viewing coach in here.
Yeah, like, why isn't that taught in elementary school, right?
Well, there are obvious reasons. They don't want you believing in this stuff.
Yeah, everybody's
just got
remote
like
view in the White House and whatnot. Yeah,
there's no way.
Yeah, totally.
There's no way they're gonna allow that.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
It was a good Ingo Swann remote viewing episode.
Yeah, impromptu. We just had a little Twitter thread.
Yeah, we had a bunch of other stuff
all
prepared.
The way down the rabbit hole. Yeah, we had a bunch of other stuff, so we'll get to a lot of that.
We'll have to get into
episode.
Yeah, but I'll give you some teasers. There's some studies about light being emitted by living beings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool.
And then, we got a bunch of
Randall Carlson
and
Howard.
And Filippo Biondi and about the SAR scans.
Oh, man. Sorry.
So, I'm looking forward to diving into more of that next week then.
Yeah, Randall Carlson's got some interesting information about that I didn't really consider. So, it's going to be fun to go into all of that. All right, y'all. Well, appreciate y'all listening. If you guys are like what you're hearing and you guys want to get involved in the conversation, you guys can email us at host@dualitycheck.net or visit our website. It's dualitycheck.net. You'll find out every episode, all the links, all the images, everything posted there. And you guys want to watch this new video style podcast, we're on YouTube and Rumble, and we're going to probably start posting on other platforms too, since everybody's getting into the video game. Spotify and all the different places. Twitter probably, or X. I keep calling it Twitter.
Yeah.
X.
Facebook.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. We post updates as far as like when our episodes are going out on Facebook and Instagram. So follow us there at Duality Check. We're also, if you're just listening, you can still listen on anywhere you want to listen to. So Spotify,
we're on
Apple
all your
Podcasts.
podcast platforms. Yep.
Yeah. Hit us up, like, subscribe, comment if you guys want to, help us out.
Send us a message. Have you ever done any remote viewing? You ever had any out of body experiences?
NDEs, anything like that.
Yeah.
We want to hear about it. So,
totally.
Until next time. See y'all later.
Adios.
Peace.